think about that for a second. If you had to choose someone to de-escalate you, who is automatically someone you think of and who's automatically someone you think do not bring? Why? Take a second and just think about that. Why? What are the traits that they have to de-escalate you?
One of the things in my training that I was hearing is like when people talk about hearing ringing in their ears and stuff, from what they've been told is the ringing in your ear is actually a frequency thing. And you're trying to tune in, your body, your soul is trying to tune in to the higher frequency.
Hey everybody, welcome into Folklore and Flourish. It is March 7th. We are so happy to see you guys today after we didn't see you yesterday. That may happen a couple times throughout the year. It's just the way life goes, but we still promised a podcast a day. So no matter where we are, what we're doing, you still will get your stories every single day, which will actually end up being great for you because some days I know when I'm listening to the podcast I listen to, I need shorter ones some days. I want to fit it in, especially if it's a routine. And so those will be available. And just so you guys are aware, we are going to do recaps at the end of every month for anything we've missed. And we also discussed possibly touching on some of our favorite things or topics of the month.
Yeah.
So not just what we missed, but I want to comment on this. And that may be, I made this comment about this story. I want to change what I've said, or I want to readdress it.
Right.
We can also do that.
Definitely if something pops up or we get a comment. And maybe it's not at the end of this month, or maybe it's something we have to add in later. I don't know how that exactly works, but yeah, 100%.
And we could do it every month. We could end up breaking it down, doing fun little, oh my gosh, on the holidays like 4th of July, we should have it set up and ready, but then we should go to the parade and include
That would be
like a
fun.
little intro to our parade.
It'd be fun too, though, is obviously we're starting to get views from outside of our country. So if we know there is a holiday somewhere else, why not
Oh my gosh,
incorporate that?
Oktoberfest in Germany.
Yeah, but then like I was thinking China stuff.
Well, Chinese New Year, that would be so fun to do next January, but spend the entire, or January, February, spend an entire week there for the festivals and being able to capture all of it.
It feels really good in my heart, Shepherd.
And that's how I was thinking, like 4th of July, it'd be fun to go have
So, like,
little
just one of
interviews or
the-
something.
Yeah, like a cool place, whether it's here or
Anywhere.
next place that we're at.
But we are going to be doing that, so keep a lookout for those. But Jane, it's only the 7th, so chill out. Today is the 7th. It's the final day of week 1, the call. And just like all of our stuff, everything goes very hand in hand with where we're heading. And outside of the call is our first step. So today is the step. And our theme is fate activated. So we're going to look at 4 stories today, and keep in mind that this is still the month of trials and destiny. We're going to look at that through Hebrew, Roman, Iroquois, and Mandé traditions today for the step. So we will see you after these 4 stories.
Before we begin, I want to take a moment to honor the cultures behind the stories we are about to explore. The tales shared here come from many peoples, lands, and traditions. I do not change these stories to fit modern expectations or to align with today's social standards. Instead, I present them as they were told, sometimes beautiful, sometimes harsh, sometimes challenging. We are not here to judge the past, but to understand it, to listen, to learn, and to honor the ancestors who carried these stories forward. We also share stories from various religious traditions. These are presented in their historical and spiritual context, with respect for their beliefs that they represent. Every culture deserves respect, context, and acknowledgement. and this space is dedicated to doing exactly that.
Story 1. Abraham leaves his homeland. The story begins not with battle or prophecy fulfilled, but with a command that required movement. In the ancient Near East during the early 2nd millennium BCE, families lived within tightly bound kinship structures. Land, lineage, and inheritance defined identity. A person's future was normally tied to the land of their ancestors and the protection of their clan. Abram, later called Abraham, lived in the region of Ur, a prosperous city in Mesopotamia located near the lower Euphrates River in what is now southern Iraq. Ur was a center of trade, temple worship, and urban life. Its people lived within a sophisticated society shaped by law, agriculture, and religious ritual. Leaving such a place was not common. Movement meant uncertainty. According to Hebrew tradition preserved in the book of Genesis, Abraham received a command from God, Yahweh, that altered the course of his life. Go from your country, your people, and your father's household to the land I will show you. The command did not include a map. It did not describe the destination. It promised something instead, that Abram would become the father of a great nation, and his descendants would inherit a land not yet seen, and through his lineage blessings would reach the wider world. But promise alone did not create destiny. The command requires response. Abram was already 75 years old when this moment occurred. By the standards of ancient life, he was not a young adventurer seeking fortune. He was an established patriarch with flocks, servants, family responsibilities, and social standing. Remaining in Ur, or later, in Haran, where his family had settled after leaving Mesopotamia, would have been far safer than stepping into unknown territory. Yet, Abraham chose movement. He gathered his household, his wife Sarai, his nephew Lot, servants, and livestock. The journey south toward Canaan stretched across difficult terrain, through deserts and along trade routes where travelers depended on wells and caravan paths for survival. Every step carried uncertainty. The land Abram was entering was already inhabited by Canaanite tribes. Political structures were fragmented, with city-states and regional leaders controlling territory. Abram did not arrive as conqueror, he arrived as wanderer. The Hebrew narrative emphasizes this movement repeatedly. Abram travels through Shechem, then to Bethel, then further south toward Negev. At each stage, he builds altars, marking moments of encounter between divine promise and human action. The promise unfolds slowly. Abram does not immediately become the father of nations. Years pass before the birth of the son through whom the promise would continue. Doubt and waiting accompany the journey, but the defining moment of the story is not the fulfillment, it is the step. Ancient Hebrew tradition framed Abraham's departure as an act of faith. Faith here did not mean blind certainty. It meant trust strong enough to move before outcomes were visible. Leaving homeland altered everything. Abram's identity shifted from settled patriarch to traveling covenant bearer. The land he walked through would later become central to Israelite history. His lineage, through Isaac, and later generations became foundational to Jewish, Christian, and Islamic traditions. But none of that future existed yet when he began walking. The call had been spoken. The path had not been revealed. The threshold between promise and reality was crossed when Abram stepped forward. His story illustrates a central pattern in sacred narrative. Destiny often waits for motion. Words alone do not activate it. Prophecy alone does not fulfill it. Movement does. The moment Abram left the familiarity of homeland and walked toward an unseen land, the promise entered history. One step began the journey that shaped nations. Story 2. Aeneas escapes the fall of Troy. The night Troy burned, the world that Aeneas had known since childhood collapsed into flame. For nearly 10 years, the Trojan War had raged outside the walls of the city. Greek armies led by kings such as Agamemnon and Menelaus had failed, repeatedly to breach Troy's defenses. The Trojan prince Hector had fallen. Warriors on both sides had died in great numbers, yet the city still stood. Until the night of the wooden horse. The Greeks left what appeared to be a final offering outside the gates, a massive wooden structure shaped like a horse. Many Trojans believed the enemy had abandoned the war and left the object as a tribute to Athena. Against the warnings of some, the horse was brought inside the city walls. Under cover of night, Greek soldiers hidden within the structure emerged. They opened the gates. The Greek army returned under darkness and flooded into the sleeping city. Fire spread quickly. According to the Roman epic, Aeneid, written by the poet Virgil in the 1st century BCE, Aeneas first learned of the disaster through chaos in the streets and through a dream visitation from Hector, Troy's fallen defender. In the dream, Hector warned him that the city was lost. "Flee, son of the goddess," Hector told him. "Save yourself from the flames." The message was clear. Troy would not survive the night. When Aeneas awoke, he stepped outside and saw the truth unfolding before him. Flames rose above rooftops. Greek soldiers clashed with Trojan defenders in narrow streets. The sound of collapsing buildings echoed across the city. At first, Aeneas did not flee. Like many warriors, his instinct was to fight. Gathering a small band of companions, he rushed toward the battle and attempted to resist the invading forces. But the scale of destruction made resistance futile. Greek soldiers poured into every quarter of the city. The turning point came when the goddess Venus, Aeneas' divine mother in Roman tradition, appeared to him and revealed the reality of the moment. The war was finished. The gods themselves had turned against Troy. Remaining in the city meant certain death, and more importantly, it meant the extinction of Troy's surviving lineage. Aeneas carried within him the future of his people. The destiny of his descendants lay beyond the burning walls. The hero now faced a choice: stay and die in the final act of resistance, or leave everything behind and carry the future elsewhere. Aeneas chose departure. Returning to his home, he gathered what remained of his family. His father, Anchises, aged and unable to move quickly, refused at first to leave. Believing himself a burden, Anchises insisted that his son save himself instead. But Aeneas would not abandon him. In one of the most enduring images from Roman mythology, Aeneas lifted his father onto his shoulders. His young son, Ascanius, also called Iulus, walked beside him. His wife, Creusa, followed behind as they moved through the burning streets. Aeneas carried the household gods, the Penates, symbol of the Trojan identity and continuity. The city collapsed around them as they fled toward the countryside. Along the way, tragedy struck again. In the confusion of escape, Creusa was separated from the group and lost within the chaos of the city. When Aeneas returned searching for her, her spirit appeared and told him that their paths would not continue together. His destiny lay elsewhere. With grief but renewed purpose, Aeneas continued the journey. The surviving Trojans gathered beyond the ruins of their homeland and prepared ships for the long voyage across the Mediterranean Sea. The fall of Troy did not end their story. It began the next one. Roman tradition held that Aeneas would eventually reach the shores of Italy, where his descendants would found the line that led to Romulus, the legendary founder of Rome. But none of that future existed when Aeneas first stepped beyond the gates of Troy. That step activated it. The hero did not walk toward glory in that moment. He walked away from ashes. Yet by choosing survival and responsibility over despair, he carried the possibility of a new civilization forward. The road from Troy to Rome began with a single decision made in a burning city. Story 3: Hiawatha Unites the Nations. Long before Europeans reached North America, the lands surrounding the Great Lakes were home to powerful nations who spoke related languages and shared many cultural traditions. Among them were the Mohawk, Oneida, Onondaga, Cayuga, and Seneca peoples, nations that would later become known collectively as the Haudenosaunee, meaning people of the Longhouse. But before unity came conflict. According to the Haudenosaunee tradition, the nations were once trapped in cycles of violence. Feuds between clans and villages led to retaliation and further bloodshed. Warfare and grief passed from generation to generation, making peace seem impossible. It was into this world that a messenger of peace appeared. He was known as the peacemaker, Deganawida. Tradition holds that Deganawida carried a vision for ending the violence among the nations. He spoke of a new law, the Great Law of Peace. that would unite the peoples into a confederacy governed by shared counsel and mutual responsibility. But Dega faced a problem. He struggled with speech. Some versions of the tradition described him as having difficulty speaking clearly or being unable to communicate effectively in public gatherings. To spread his message, he needed someone who could speak powerfully on his behalf. That person would become Hiawatha. Hiawatha's life had been marked by tragedy. In many tellings, he had lost his daughters during a time of violence and grief. His sorrow had nearly consumed him. But when Deganawida approached him with the vision of peace, Hiawatha saw within it a path that might heal not only his own loss, but the suffering of many nations. The vision alone did not create unity. Action was required. Hiawatha agreed to help carry the message of the great law of peace. Together, he and Deganawida began traveling from nation to nation, speaking with leaders and clan mothers about a new way of living together. Instead of endless revenge, the nations would create a council system where decisions were made collectively. The message was revolutionary. Convincing warriors accustomed to retaliation was not easy. Many resisted the idea that old feuds could be set aside. Some feared that peace would weaken their strength. Others simply distrusted their rivals. Yet Hiawatha continued speaking. His words carried both grief and hope. Having experienced loss himself, he understood the cost of violence. The great law offered something rare, a structure that could replace chaos with order. One of the most difficult steps involved the Onondaga Nation, whose leader, often identified as Tadodaho, was described in tradition as powerful but deeply resistant to change. In some tellings, he was portrayed symbolically as twisted in body and mind, reflecting the destructive state of constant warfare. Hiawatha and Deganawida approached him carefully. Through patience and persuasion, they eventually convinced him to accept the vision of unity. In symbolic narratives, Tadodaho's twisted form was straightened as peace replaced conflict. His acceptance became the final step needed to establish the Confederacy. With the nations gathered, the Great Law of Peace was formally established. The 5 nations became one confederation. According to Haudenosaunee tradition, this founding was marked by the planting of the Tree of Peace, a great white pine beneath which the weapons of war were burned. The tree's roots were said to extend outward in 4 directions, inviting other nations to follow the path of peace if they wished. The Confederacy created one of the most sophisticated political systems in North America. Each nation maintained its identity while participating in a shared council, where decisions were made through consensus rather than domination. Hiawatha's role in this transformation was essential. The vision of peace might have remained only an idea without his willingness to act. By traveling between nations, speaking across boundaries, and persuading leaders to abandon old conflicts, he transformed possibility into reality. Unity required more than hope. It required the step. Centuries later, the Haudenosaunee Confederacy would continue to influence political thought across North America. Some historians believe that aspects of its council system even inspired ideas later reflected in early American political structures. But those later influences began with a single decision. Hiawatha chose to carry a message across divided nations. The moment he began walking that path, the future of the Confederacy began. Story 4. Sunjata rises to kingship. In the savanna lands of West Africa, where trade routes crossed between forest and desert, kingship was never only inheritance. It had to be proven. The story of Sunjata, preserved in the Mandé epic tradition and carried for centuries by griots, begins not with immediate power, but with delay, humiliation, and exile. He was born in the 13th century as the son of Magan Khan Fata, ruler of Kungaba, one of the important Mandé states that would later contribute to the rise of the Mali Empire. Before his birth, hunters brought a prophecy to the king. They told him he must marry an unusual woman, Sogolan, because from her would come a son destined to become a great ruler. The prophecy promised future greatness, but the child's early life did not resemble strength. Sunjata did not walk at the age expected of royal children. In traditions of the epic, he remained unable to stand well into childhood. Other children mocked him. His mother was insulted in court. Rival wives of their families saw no threat in him. The future king appeared weak, delayed, and politically insignificant. This matters. His story is not one of effortless destiny. It is one in which destiny waits, silent and hidden, until action awakens it. The turning point comes through humiliation. One day after his mother is shamed by Sasuma Beirate, the powerful first wife of the king, Sunjata sees her grief and decides that stillness can no longer continue. He asks for an iron rod. Planning to get into the ground, he forces himself upright. In many versions, the rod bends beneath the weight of his effort, but he stands. That standing is one of the great threshold moments in epic literature. It is not merely physical, it is political, symbolic, and destiny-charged. The child, once dismissed as weak, becomes visible. Action changes reality. From that point onward, Sunjata's path moves towards kingship, but not directly. After his father's death, rival forces gained power in Kangaba. Sunjata, his mother, and his sisters were driven into exile. They travel through the courts of neighboring rulers, living away from the homeland that should have been his. Exile becomes training. He learns diplomacy, warfare, endurance, and the realities of regional power. He grows in stature and strength. Word spreads. The boy who once could not walk becomes a leader others begin to notice. Meanwhile, the Mandé world faces a greater threat. Sumaora Kante, and the powerful ruler of Soso, expands aggressively across the region. His rule is remembered in the epic as fearsome and oppressive. Mandé leaders, unable to resist him alone, realize they need a unifying figure. They call for Sunjata. This is the second threshold. He could remain in exile, protected by distance. He could refuse the burden of return. But the summon aligns with what prophecy had long suggested. Sunjata accepts. He gathers allies among Mandé chiefs and kingdoms, forging coalition where there had been fragmentation. His rise is not a private triumph. It is a collective activation. At the Battle of Kirina, traditionally dated around 1235, Sunjata and his allied forces confront Samoro. The details of the battle vary across oral traditions, blending history and epic symbolism. But the outcome remains consistent. Samoro is defeated, and Sunjata emerges as a central ruler capable of uniting the Mandé peoples. From that victory, the foundations of the Malay Empire are laid. Sunjata's kingship matters not only because he wins power, but because he transforms scattered strength into political order. Tradition credits him with helping establish structures in governance, law, and alliance that shaped the empire for generations. In later memory, his reign becomes the beginning of one of West Africa's great imperial traditions. But the empire begins before the crown. It begins when he stands. The first act is not conquest. It is rising from the ground in defiance of shame. The second is returning from exile when called. The third is choosing to unite others rather than pursue private revenge alone. This is why Sunjata belongs to March. His destiny was spoken before birth, but prophecy did not enthrone him. Action did. Step by step, effort by effort, threshold by threshold, he became the ruler he had been foretold to be. The child who could not stand rose, and when he rose, history shifted with him. Hey everybody, welcome back in. Mark's here testing silly voices. We are back though.
I'm
with
front.
March 7th, the step. Okay, so our daily thread for March 7th is that every journey begins with a moment when intention becomes movement. Abraham stepped away from his homeland, trusting a path he could not yet see. Aeneas carried the future of his people as he fled the burning city of Troy. Thou walked between nations, helping unite tribes through courage and diplomacy. And Sunjata rose from hardship and took the step that would eventually build the Mali Empire. What step forward might quietly change the course of your own story today? Reality changes when intention becomes action. So our 4 stories today were all centered around fate activated. And the step we see through all of these huge implications to the choice being made, but it also being activated with that first intentional movement towards it. And so maybe it's not an intentional step but that decision to do it now, and I'm moving forward with that, is also a step. We saw that in the very beginning. Oh, sorry. Our lesson before we jump into Abraham's is that action changes reality. So just like with that daily thread, our actions change our reality because we have now done something that in turn we have changed who we once were. Because that person who I was a second ago never did that. I'm now a new person. Abraham's right away, his step was, we see some of these stories in his just right off the bat.
Dude, I'm sorry, but I bet you that sunset looks dope.
Do you want to go look at it real quick?
Just for a quick second.
Yeah, no, we'll be right back. We have to go see the sunset.
It looks cool.
So what I was saying was that some steps are complete acts of faith.
Yeah.
You know, it's not a jump of faith. It's not a leap of faith. It's just one step into the unknown, which is what Abraham did. He went somewhere that he had no idea where he was going. And we see those three major religions. If Abraham never took that step, what would have become of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam? Like Islamic tradition and faith,
Right.
where would they be? And so Abraham's not here reaping in the benefits of that, he's a well-known person, right? He took that step so that his future line would have a chance. It wasn't just about him surviving. And that's why he did it, was because he was being told, and he understood that from what these stories said, is that this is far bigger than you, but it weighs heavy on your choice now. And kind of like how we talked about with Moses, if not him, would it have been anyone? Like God said, it's you, or I guess it won't be done.
Right. And that's the thing about the Abraham thing is like, how does it from that one guy, you get three such, as we view it, different religions, that conflict with each other so much and fight against each other. It's kind of sad, that you would be the cause.
Well, think
so
about
much
it.
death.
Think about it this way. Imagine those three faiths are three siblings.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly what I was thinking.
Imagine how much we fight with our siblings, and one may seem more just, where the other one is more honest, where the other one is more advocacy for like justice and whatever it may be.
Yeah.
Each of them have their qualities and each have core similarities because they all came from the same origins. And so that's what's cool. But it is exactly what you said. Instead of it being three siblings just having disputes or being upset, it's more people have died than we'll ever know for not just those three, but honestly, every faith. I actually don't know if every faith, I don't know as much with the Confucianism and Taoism, Buddhism, that stuff. I don't believe that there was as much.
Well, Buddhism isn't a religion.
Well, and I didn't say religion, I said faiths.
You did that, and you are correct. So,
but you're right. And that's what's important is spirituality, faith, religion, all of these things. We're not talking about institutions. We're talking about ideologies, theologies, for sure.
Right.
So I'm glad you brought that up. But Abraham, he took a step that, was set in motion.
Right. 100%. And that's the thing is like taking that out of the context of there and bringing it to now. We're in a position where we potentially, I could say, just do something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And my left brain is like, no, dude, be logical, do the right thing. But then at the same time, you hear all these stories of somebody being like, you know what? I don't need this. Boom. This is what I really want to do. And they just go do it and they do it, and they succeed. But then there's the stories where the people don't, but that's just as beautiful.
But they at least know
they went
what the outcome would have been for that.
Right.
And that's what's scary to me. And I've told you this, and I think we even mentioned it in this show before, is I really don't want to feel whatever it feels like to be riddled with regret at the end.
Yeah.
I had regrets throughout high school. I lived in that regret mindset of, I wish I would have enjoyed life when I was younger. I wish I would.
Yeah.
I just can't do it anymore. So when I have decisions and I go, there have been times where it's been uncomfortable for me to share something, but I knew if I didn't, I would regret it because it would have implications on us. So even just that, of I don't want anything to be in the way that could have been avoided. And I don't want to miss anything that presents itself.
Mm.
And that's a step every time. We either step towards our futures, towards our destinies in different directions, or we step away from them. And in all actuality, every decision is both. Because when I take a step towards you, I'm stepping away from something else.
Right.
So it's a little bit of that step too of
Yeah.
Abraham. I love that his name changed because that's exactly what it means.
Yeah.
Abram, but he took that step and now he's Abraham. Like he became this embodiment, this huge forefather of faith and religions in a lot of places.
Right.
And so the important note here is that destiny rarely unfolds while standing still. The promise may exist long before it becomes visible. Spring emergence begins when the first step is taken into the unknown. I would say, and our podcast was a huge step into the unknown. And that's kind of where we're at. I think it too is we're still moving,
Yeah.
but we have no idea where it's going to take us.
No, I mean, we started this not really knowing anything about podcasting, what we're doing. I mean, all the stuff is just like, man,
Stuff we like, stuff we're doing.
yeah, just whatever. Like, that's the biggest thing is I'm enjoying doing this, whether we're having people watch it or not. I'm getting to learn stuff.
I am too. I'm really
And
enjoying it.
I love that about what we're doing. And then like how you tied it into with what I'm now pursuing and how that is going to help me. I was like, I didn't even think of that.
Yeah, when you
Wow.
start to connect patterns of identifying regions based on certain
Yeah, it's going to help
morals
so
and
much.
yeah, and I'm excited.
And
for
I
that,
was so
too.
grateful that you brought that up. That gave me such a peace of mind that I didn't even know I needed.
Well, it's like how we were having that conversation and how many times we think that we don't possess a certain quality that would really help us get ahead in the field. So you, if you don't mind me sharing, you were saying you just didn't think that you were educated enough with world stuff, And then we're sitting here and yet you could identify certain things based on just the readings we've done. Like you've caught on to things like the force viewing of executions. When that was said, we both right away knew, like our mind went to certain locations. And so, we all know a lot more than we think we do. Sometimes we just haven't been presented with the opportunity to show it off yet. And like I was telling you earlier, it might be someone that has tried everything and they're struggling and they come to you and this is the last resort. And because you did this podcast with me and you took that step with me,
Yeah.
you're the one that can help them because I've heard this story before.
Yeah.
Tell me more.
Right.
And you're not leading them on, but in your head, this is how that story went. So you can trace patterns. You can
How
now look
fun
into
is that
different
going to be when
traditions.
that happens? When somebody is like, whether it's you, which would be even more fun because then I could really
Could you
explore it.
imagine that my higher self was using this to teach you how to help me?
Yeah.
Like this was one of these stories are going to be it.
Yeah. To where I'm like, by the time you first do this session with me, I'll have heard that story enough times that it's imprinted to where I'm like, oh, I know it. I know what I need to ask and say.
And so thinking about that, moving into story 2, how I told you, there are some stories that it is so hard for me to read, and I do not know why. But this one, reading it, I was like choking up. I don't know if you guys can tell within the video because we do obviously the magic audio
Right.
through Riverside to help it be louder.
Yeah.
So you guys turning it down when that part comes up. Sorry. It's just because wanted to enhance the sound. But story 2, there's something about certain aspects in Troy. Like I told you with our book and looking into certain things, when I read specific people, there's something about it that just I have to walk away from.
Yeah.
It feels like I've gotten into a fight with a family member. Really. It's like I get this heavy sense of grief or foreboding. Is that the right word?
Foreboding?
just this solemn feel that something's coming. Something's coming because you felt this before, but I feel.
It's like you're almost foreshadowing it too.
But I
you know?
almost feel it. And like I told you when the lucid dreaming, the
Yeah.
bottom, I told you the farthest one, and it's the last time I got in there. And I just got goosebumps and I got that lump in my throat just thinking about it. But I'm in here, I'm down below, and I'm in like almost a courtyard, and it's Greek. And how I told you, I thought these were past lives and stuff. It's Greek or Roman architecture 100%. And there's someone on the other side of this, there's water in the middle, like it's a little central area or something. And there's someone on the other side that's trying to get to me, trying to talk to me, trying to lead me something, but I can't see their face. And they run to the right. All I see is them running to the right. So they were standing there when I got there. And then they're and I can't move from that spot. So it's like there's something within this culture and tradition I definitely think
Well,
has its meaning.
well, what's great is we'll be able to explore that very soon.
And it might be something completely different. It might be something that inspired them.
And here's the thing. We don't even know if you'll go there right away. Like that might be session
I
10.
have zero expectations.
That's the thing, is that you're going to get what you need first, and then we'll probably be able to play around.
But this one, I've told you about this before, and I didn't share the name or anything, but I told you that based on folklore, mythology, the Trojans weren't wiped out.
No.
They actually flipped it and arguably controlled everything.
Yeah.
Based on that fall of the city. And it's this person, Aeneas, that was the forefather, the founder of Rome. So it's just cool that the Greeks, the Roman Empire rose, and that was the fall of all this other stuff. Who better to be angry with the Greeks and the gods and all of that than the ones that they turned against? I mean, it just makes sense when you look at it that Rome was 100% the Trojans taking back control and saying, okay, history's changed. By the Greeks having the strongest army, then, Agamemnon, Menelaus, having the strongest things and destroying the only stronghold. Cool, now they have no one that could defeat them. But from those ashes rose someone that was absolutely going to not only defeat them, but destroy everything that they stood for. So all your kings and all your all your gods, false gods, what they were calling them, they're nothing. Where are they now?
Right.
Because we believed when we were in Troy, and where were they?
Yeah.
Playing games. And now you're going to feel it. And that's just, I don't know, something about this of you want to hope that you would fight for your homeland, right? Fight to the end. Yes, that's valiant, courageous. But then you're struck with the fact that, but then it's gone. Your story will never be told. People may never know what was lost here. There has to be a certain point where, when there is a worthy leader, someone that you want to be the way that your people goes on, you just need to get out. Even if you are the strongest fighter, even if you're the only thing. When things are lost, they don't have to be completely forgotten.
And who's to say, like, one of these descendants, right, out of one of these people that came from Troy isn't one of the reasons you have the ties to when you go on your journeys to Egypt and or
Greece.
like what we were talking about. Like, who's to say that's not the reason? Not even the Greece one, but the Rome ones for sure. Like, what if those are the descendants of said person that was just leaving?
Right. And speaking about too of the snakes, it's not just me, but the women throughout history. When I look into them, that's one of the first things I see associated with the serpent.
Yeah.
And it's like, interesting. And then the mama serpent that
Mama.
I can even hear it during just when I'm working. I can feel it. It's like feeling something inside your brain. It's like feeling a snake is almost there rubbing itself, but not in the obviously slimy kind of way, but it's more of like a presence is here. And it's times when I'm really in my earth element. I'm in the dirt, I'm working with the plants and moving stuff around, getting it home homey, an
Right.
environment to work in. I start feeling that movement and it's like in me, it's like coils moving all the way up me. And so it just feels good. But in casual passing in the day, it almost like shakes me a little bit because it is like when we talk about how, well, when we're in therapy or when we're meditating, yeah, you can experience a lot of things. But when you're not and you feel something spiritual, it kind of shakes you a little bit
Right.
because they do acknowledge us.
Mm-hmm.
They do see us. And even if
Sometimes
it's our
they're like,
own mind,
hey.
even if it's our own mind, our mind
Yeah.
is saying your faith is tying in right now. So it could be, okay, you're totally delusional, Jane. You need to get
Mhm.
some mental health, whatever. But it doesn't matter because that means my mind is triggering something to go, this feels right. It's okay. This is where you
Mhm.
should be. You're doing
Mhm.
something. And I like that. And with him, the fall of Troy may never have been, I mean, it was written and all of this stuff, but how much history would have been lost had he not gotten out?
Yeah. Right.
And in the important note, it says sometimes the step that activates destiny begins with loss. Leaving what has ended may be the first movement toward what has not yet been built. Of sometimes we suffer in certain lifetimes so that 5 lifetimes down the road, we're prepared for what needs to be done with that loss that we suffered. It may not be the same lifetime we had the loss.
Right. Yeah. It could have just been a setup for our soul.
So, like, the reason I brought up all those other things is like we may feel those things because our past life is going, ooh, something that just happened before is coming into play. Because of that, you are here.
Right.
That's how I like to think of it, Were you going to say something? I apologize for cutting you off.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Ah.
Blast.
But yeah, this one I struggle with because it's like you hear and see and all this stuff about Troy, but we've meditated while I've been working on the book. And obviously, if you haven't caught on yet, there's something about Troy that's in it. There is some Greek stuff in it. You're welcome. Anyways, um, this is just everyone that hasn't seen the sneak stuff on TikTok and everything, anyways.
Right.
So
Right.
no, but I feel the heat. Like I almost hear the screaming. Like the more you look into the histories and like wars and battles, and we see these documentaries and you can hear the ambiance around you. And so I've looked this up so much that could be the reason I struggle with it too. It's because you look at those records and everything and it's like, shoot, what are you looking at?
The book, because I realized I put it down. It was cut off, but it's
Oh, no, but it still says the pilgrimage when I see it. But okay, then our third one, we move into the third one where everything's going to be destroyed if we don't come together.
Yeah.
If we don't figure out a common ground, right? So it wasn't Troy versus the Greeks where Hector came in and said, it's done. There are people still alive in Troy right now. You guys are still fighting, but the war's lost.
Yeah.
You have to leave. This one it wasn't just one nation was going to wipe out everyone else. We're going to force their way through like King Agamemnon, taking over every region and then coming straight forward. This was, everyone had their ideologies, their pride, their homelands, and they were going to fight for it.
Right.
And if there was something that happened, retaliation was absolutely something that was going to be done. I mean, we see that in shows, and it's not just one culture that does that. Every human culture has that instinct of retaliation. Even if we don't act on it, we have those thoughts like how you told me
isn't
the
it
other
in the Bible?
Yeah. But how you told me the other day, remember how I was saying some pretty not okay things?
Yeah.
And I was really upset. And then later came like, I was upset in that moment and I needed to be, but I don't wish harm on anyone.
Right.
And I don't want that because when I think about it, then it just continues. It never ends because then the people that hurt because of that want me to hurt. And then who's going to hurt because I'm hurting?
Yeah.
And then who's going to want them hurt because they hurt me and vice versa? It never ends. And that's where these people came forward. And wow, the importance of being able to speak, to communicate, how heavy they relied on someone else coming in to communicate for them. So, right, that was this one. Yeah. So Hiawatha agreed to carry the message of the great law of peace because they struggled. The person we follow may not be the person with the most money, the person in leadership. The power of voice, I mean, it's so influential. Told you about one of my first activity I did with my 7th and 8th graders when I taught 8th grade politics was the power of speech. So I gave them 3 excerpts, 3 different people, anonymous excerpts from their public speeches or whatever it may be. So you couldn't tell who they were, but you could tell what they stood for. So we'd read all 3 as a class. It took a first full week of school. This is how we started, right? Day 1 syllabus for 5 minutes and whatever, because you've read it 1,000 times. You don't need it. Then we jump in to the 3 stories and we address as a group what are they saying? What are they fighting for? Who's their audience? We're assuming based on what we're seeing here. And then, I start by telling them, these are people that they were really followed because of their speech, their voice. They had huge groups of people following them.
Right.
Because of their power. Arguably some of the best public speakers in time, is what I'm telling them.
Right.
Notice some key things are taken out of that they didn't realize until after I revealed who the 3 were.
Tricky.
Right? So I do this because I
know this story.
I want them to just look at what they said.
Yeah.
How powerful can persuasion be?
Right.
You don't see what else is going on.
That's the thing. Words don't mean anything, but they can mean everything.
Right. And they can get you the support you need. So these 3 people at the end of the week, before I give the big reveal, the end of the day, final day, they vote as a class and as a whole school. So Wednesday, at the end of the day, Wednesday, because we only have school through Thursdays. End of the day, Wednesday, I have the tally of this is what this grade level said was the best speaker. Here's the worst speaker. And then they vote on who they would follow. Pick a follower and we're going to have a little debate on it. Why is that one worth following? Okay. So we have it. And then there's the reveal. Our first speaker, Charles Manson. Automatically, if you haven't seen any of the transcripts of Charles Manson, there are some serious things in there that I could totally see why people followed. And if you think it's just crazy people, look into the people that followed him, because you had some all-American heroes of their hometown in his group.
Wow.
And people that came from good home lives. That's speaker number 1. He was either number 1 or number 2 each year. It was either the top choice or the second choice. Okay. Our second choice of the leaders, okay, that they chose was choice number 3, which was Jim Jones. Okay. So Jonestown, that don't drink the Kool-Aid, right? Everyone knows it. The kids all knew that statement, don't drink the Kool-Aid. They had no idea what it meant.
Why? Because you're going to die.
And so we look at the implications of what these people did and how did someone talking about faith and having hope do that?
Right.
I mean, wait, that's not what he said. No, because people don't act like they say sometimes. And that's how influential words are. Okay. So the third one, he always got 3rd place because it was hard to pick out stuff without identifying who he was. But every year, regardless of getting 3rd, the students would say that if they were older, they would probably have chosen that one because it was about pride in nation, pride in history, pride in continuing forward.
Right.
Hitler.
Right.
Right. So we look at this and we go, it all starts with communicating with someone. This story, they knew they needed someone to communicate. That's why the power of speech goes arguably the most influential thing throughout history.
Right.
It could start a war and it could end a war. We send people out to go de-escalate situations all the time. Think about that for a second. If you had to choose someone to de-escalate who is automatically someone you think of and who's automatically someone you think do not bring? Okay. Take a second and just think about that. Why? What are the traits that they have to de-escalate you? Because for a majority of us, it's not physical like altercations.
No.
It's verbal.
Yeah.
If not, it's physical like caring.
Yes.
But still ultimately leads to verbal communication. So on our way to peace and war, it takes a voice. And I love that when we see the Native American communities, all about community,
Yeah.
all about it. And this was, we keep our community's identity, but we acknowledge that we have to be in peace for us to continue. Because, I mean, what happened after?
Yeah.
There was a much bigger, badder wolf that came in and they used their voice, and it's sad, but
I mean, but that's human history. It's just so
everywhere
new. It's just so new to us, right? As a country
yeah.
for something like that. But if you look overseas and you look at the stories of all the wars and everything that happened and the
Still
conquerings
happening.
and still happening today, man, do we got it good over here. Like, and I know it might sound ignorant, but truly,
We can live in ignorance, though. That's how lucky we have it.
right?
That right there is how lucky we have it here.
Yeah. And it's almost sad. Like, it is sad. I think it's totally sad. Like, why?
I think it's sad
like that?
because when we can live like that, we forget the importance of community.
Right. I
Because
just
it
want to
is
live in truth and love.
I.
Yeah, and I don't want to do that. I want to live in like the facilitating of helping people and bringing people to the light.
So then let's look at story 4 then. So we're looking at Sunjata rises to kingship. He took his first step, his rise from what? The disrespect towards his parent,
Yeah,
towards his
mom.
mother.
I feel that. I was like, yeah,
Yeah,
boy.
I saw you move when that part was read. But sometimes it takes a serious interaction for us to rise to ourselves.
Yeah.
Honestly, it took him seeing that to go, I can no longer stay still.
Yeah.
I have to rise. He had to go suffer. He had to live in exile. Sometimes we must suffer before we can rise because we need the qualities that came through the suffering.
I feel that.
I 100% don't justify killing or death,
Right.
but the emotional implications and the spiritual, I just think like the spiritual energy that comes with all of that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're necessary for something because the world, it's living. It's not just us and the plants and the animals. Like this is so complex.
Yeah.
We say we know so much. Oh, this is what the center of the earth is. Then why did 3 separate nations miscalculate how thick the crust was
Right.
to where all 3 quit digging? We assume that we know what's inside, but yet we don't. We assume we know all about the moon, yet we never go back. Why? There's no way that we know everything about it when we don't even know everything about Earth. So it's just sometimes we have to go through situations and 500 years, 3,000 years, 10,000, 5 million years down the road, it's going to come into effect because this is a living organism and it 100%, I believe, reacts to what happens on it.
Yeah. It either cleans itself off and it starts over and it does some new stuff, or, it allows you to move forward. And I truly believe right now it is trying to ascend. It is that living, breathing organism. And I think we all breathe and live as one. And it's trying to move into that higher frequency. So, like earlier when you were talking about hearing callings and stuff, and one of the things in my training that I was hearing is like when people talk about hearing ringing in their ears and stuff, from what they've been told is the ringing in your ear is actually a frequency thing. And you're trying to tune in, your body, your soul is trying to tune in to the higher frequency. So when you hear the ringing in your ears, take a second and think of what is trying to come through right now. What do I need to do? And thank it for being there, doing that ringing, and then say, do I need to go to a higher frequency, and try to meditate to that, I guess. Pretty much is what they're trying to tell people.
I'll notice it.
Yeah, now you feel it. Now, okay, so I got to raise. They're saying ringing in the ears is because you need to raise your vibration. That is them telling us all these stories, and then me doing this class now. It's all falling into place because they're like, we show you signs every single day, all the time. They said all the time. They're always saying something through something, whether it be a symbol that you don't even notice. most times. Most times it's all numbers. The time on the clock, when you look at it and you've seen it, like if you randomly look at it and it's a certain number, and then start to think about when you look at clocks
And the
or
certain
when you
patterns
see
we get.
numbers. And lately there's a number pattern that's starting to arise that I'm starting to notice, certain numbers that we haven't possibly talked about yet. And I'm
Wait,
like,
pause
what?
before you say it. Before you say it, 'cause I'm on camera to show this. I'm gonna grab the notebook because I told you the other day to remind me of the person. And
Okay.
I said I remembered because you said something and I wrote it down. But I wrote
Okay.
down numbers that day. So I'm curious to see if any of the numbers are the same, if you wanted to share. Oops.
Yeah, sure. Just don't hit my phone,
I won't.
you stinker.
Okay. So go
I
ahead
need
and
more water
continue.
though.
Well, we're almost done. So go
Well,
ahead
yeah,
and
but you have water.
oh,
Share it and he's carrying.
so just a curiosity, what were some of your numbers?
Like a lot of fours are starting to come up, and I don't remember exactly what it is, but it's like 4 something, 4, 5. I forget what the actual number is, but
Okay, wait, pause. I want you to just look at the first number.
okay, 4.
What was it? And you said 4, the next
Yeah,
one?
well, yeah, it was 2 4s.
This
4,
was my
8,
second number,
4, 8,
which
and
is two
then
fours.
yeah, that's probably why. It was either like 37 or 50 or something, 55. 55 has always been a number, but it was like the 4 4. But it was like a bill I seen. And for some reason it like popped out. Dude, it was an old 20 and it had a bunch of 12s on the front. But then I was like, and then there was
Okay,
another.
number 3.
Okay, 12.
The third number was 12.
Yeah. And for some reason I grabbed that bill and I was like, this is, for some reason, this is interesting. And I haven't really looked at, and that's what I was looking at when you walked in and you were like, what are you looking at? And I grabbed that.
Oh, okay.
Whenever that was, I was like looking at that 20, or you were asking me to do something. My
Okay,
wallet's
no.
not. Yeah. Anyways, what other 37 or 47 or something like that?
The
I don't
number
remember. There was
set,
some other ones,
this is my number. Oh,
but go ahead. I
my
don't
number
remember what they
set
are.
was 4, 8, 12, 13, 14 with the number 1 circled. Taking a
Oops.
step sometimes is just acknowledging patterns, but being able to recognize that you're being shown a pattern. You're being shown something. Abraham recognizing this is my Lord telling me to do this, to leave my homeland, because we may think that there are signs like today, what happened with my paperwork. I 100% thought that and then stopped thinking that because I thought, what if this is a trick? What if this is too easy? And I'm assuming a sign because it's an easy sign. And this is me being challenged with my arrogance because I immediately said that. And so I paused. And so I shared it with you, not because I thought you were going to be arrogant or anything, but I shared it with you to confirm my own arrogance. Because I told you they threw up right here. I didn't tell you they threw up anywhere else yet. I said they threw up right here. So of course you're going to think, okay, that's the only place they did it and they never threw up. So it was kind of to confirm my own arrogance in that, but also to kind of keep with my thought of waiting between Monday and Friday, to not jump right over, but to wait.
Which makes sense.
And then I also thought maybe it's because what happened was so sick. Like it was maybe about my doctor stuff rather than what was on top.
Right. Could have been.
Yeah. And because it might have been like, this isn't true about you anymore.
Yeah.
Because that's all
your
my
old
bipolar
story.
stuff. But there's so many things. So it's just recognizing that I don't have all the pieces right now, but I have to take the step to find them. And so keeping that in mind, we're going to think today, what threshold do I cross? What is it that I need to take a step toward? And then our action today is that we're going to take an intentional step forward. So how you've been intentionally stepping out every day that you leave.
Yeah.
Now we are doing that, but we are going to be aware of the act. So yeah, you're aware of the act all the time. So you're just going to continue doing that. But maybe now this time verbalize it.
Well, you know, it's funny that you say that because I think the last couple days or whatever, I hadn't done that. I had spaced it.
Oh, so this perfect hit at the right time because I
Yeah.
remember looking at this and going, yeah, Mark does that a lot. So this.
But I do it, but I just hadn't been.
So it's just reminding us.
Yeah.
Well, we just did that. We stopped our podcast to intentionally go look at the sunset.
Yeah. True.
Sometimes the step is something that totally disrupts what we're doing.
Yeah, and you
That's
don't
the
even
point.
think about it, and it's just something beautiful,
That's what we're meant to do here is experience.
right?
We're not meant to sit in this room 24/7 and talk about life when that's why I said, please don't ever keep that in. When you
Yeah,
said, sorry, I just want to, yeah, let's go out and look then.
right.
Because I can handle wasting time
Yeah, when it's
by
to
wasting time.
experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, I would rather do that.
Mhm.
And then we can come in and say,
God, it was so beautiful, though.
yeah,
It's just so orange
the
and
orange and the way
blue,
that the
just the way it
blue looks with
melted
the
together.
orange.
Oh, and those 2 colors for us are significant, so it just made it more beautiful that
Mhm.
we were able to go out and experience that. So, yeah, thank you.
And so when we do that today, we're going to leave with the fact that reality changes when intention becomes action. So that idea of the particles, until you observe them, they're in every state,
Yeah,
everywhere, every motion. It
def
is when we observe them, when we make that intention, reality changes.
how do you want to observe it?
How powerful and how empowering is it to know that we change our own realities?
Yeah, just with a
We have the
choice.
power to change particle reality by doing nothing other than observing. So imagine what could happen in our life if we took a step.
Mhm.
That's all this is saying is sometimes through the ashes the step comes, sometimes it's through just faith, but we have to be willing to take it. But if we don't and we regret it, that means we either need to take initiative or the next time that opportunity arises, we take it. We don't always listen the first time. We see it constantly. It's not the greats always go and do it right away. They always jump into courage. There is a lot of fear.
Yeah,
There's a lot of loss. There's
right.
a lot of regret. Nobody remembers that after you've taken that step, though. They may go, oh, I remember when you didn't have the courage. But they're going, but that's not who's in front of me anymore.
Uh,
You've changed. And that's where we're going to be soon. That's where we are every day.
yeah, that's
I
what I'm
mean,
starting to live for sure. Been living. Yeah, and just feeling better, like, when you're like, "Oh, man, like, this weekend, like, I've just been getting up, doing things and whatever."
loved it because I did that all week.
Yeah,
And to just be able to kind of take a breath and do my own thing. But you've been like really a powerhouse like this weekend. I felt bad, but then I also went, my body is just saying, like, I don't need to do it right now.
yeah.
Like you got someone that's in the flow, just pause. But I appreciate it and I appreciate you. And I'm excited because we
That
are
was nice because it kept you away from me, so you were able to get your rest, and I was able to stay in my flow and do that. Like, and it gave me the ability to do that. It gave me the chance to just not suck, you know? Be like, "No, you made a choice, a conscious choice that you want to be this person. Now be it. Don't talk about it. Actions are what need to be shown." And I've said, I want to show with my actions what type of person I am, right? And I think that truly I'm showing that, especially like more. Sometimes, yeah, I get sloppy, I get tired, I forget to show it. But there's
we all
always
do. And sometimes I have a hard time giving grace. And I
mm,
have to remind myself later that, wow, didn't Mark just give you grace for this the other day? Didn't you just make this mistake though? And it's not the blaming of, oh, what I did was worse than you or vice versa.
mhm,
It's purposely not perfect. If
right,
everything in our relationship continued to just be daisies and stuff,
right.
we would never know whether we could make it or not. I'm not saying that we're going to go out and intentionally betray or hurt each other. I'm saying
Right.
we're facing things that I may mess up or you may mess up in
Mhm.
one way. And okay, but is it life or death right now? It may be unbelievably crappy, but as long as we remain true to ourselves, yeah, be allowing to be upset, but not crossing that line with each other. And that's why and I know it's frustrating in the moment, but when we do walk away, because we both know if we continue,
Mhm.
and we both walk away when we start raising voices. And I can tell that we both just need to stop.
Right.
And there are days where I keep picking at you and you ignore me. And there are days where it's the opposite. And it's necessary because I don't go, oh, wow, he's talking crap. He needs to keep running his mouth. He's upset. But he didn't come get in my face when I was doing that, when I
Mhm.
was upset, you know? And so that too. And I'm excited because we get to see this month of the hero, right? The tested hero, but we got to do this together. So we're not only tested heroes in our own atmospheres, me with my, like our folklore and floor stuff we're doing together, and then your therapy and then the book and stuff. But as a couple, we're going to be tested too. So what's our calling as a couple versus as individuals? Because one of us may have the voice out in public, or the other one is like, no, I would rather do this. And it's just exciting that we get to see that. And what steps can we take to help the other person?
Right. Yeah.
So we are at the end of the week one, the call. We just finished week one. And so sitting here going, okay, we're talking about the tested hero. Going into the call, was the call the test? Yes. But now we're in week two, which is all the test.
Right.
So we're going to run into our weapons, our allies, our tricksters. And we get to see the elements of the hero. It doesn't need to kill someone to be a weapon.
Right.
We have so many things around us that are our own personal weapons that make us a threat to the world.
Yeah.
And we get to see that as well. But to everyone out there that's taken that step, you know, we've taken that step. It's not always easy.
No.
And we're here for you guys. And we hope that you guys would be there for us too. So if you ever want to comment or anything, we're here. But
it's all about helping each other, honestly, that this whole experience, no matter what, whatever you want to take away from it, it's about love and helping each other figure it out. Not like you might think I need to have some big crazy life and you really don't. And that's one of the great things I'm learning in this class is when she's like, you don't realize that 90% of the things that come up, it's meat and potatoes. And what she means by that is meat and potatoes is just like, it's all like, think about what your life is right now. Do you got some big glamorous thing going on? No, most of them aren't. And if you think of how many people are out in the world and how many big stories there are, then add that up to how many people there are. It's very few and far between would be that big thing. So it's like, why are we here? We're here to learn and to figure it out and help each other. So what better way to do that? When you're going through this, what did you learn from this lesson today? You know, that's what we're asking in these stories. I learned this is what I was supposed to do. So maybe you hearing this story today is going to help you, or one of the stories, or maybe you know somebody that might need something because they said something to you. Everything that happens, it's going to show you for a reason. Everything that pops up to you is going to pop up to you for a reason. So just listen to it, use the story and say, why did it come up? And then just be thankful. You know, you don't got to force anything either. If you can't figure it out, don't figure it out because it's not time.
And maybe it won't be time for a while.
Duh.
But if you found us for a reason. And it'll eventually come, and it may have come in the past. It may be a video. I mean, if you like and subscribe, it may just be a video that will re-pop up and say, oh, you might like this one.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's that too. But with that in mind, I'm going to let you guys go for today. And we'll see you tomorrow for week 2, the test.
Ooh, thank you guys. Appreciate it. Love you guys.